And welcome back, everyone, to the chopping block here on Garden State Sports. My name is Andrew Hefner alongside my co host Dylan Shaw. And there is a lot to talk about in the Rutgers football world. So, welcome to our first episode of the new 2026 2027 Rutgers football season. The biggest thing to talk about, and of course, probably why you clicked on this video, what is on the thumbnail right now, is that currently there has not been a starting quarterback named. The guy who's kind of been waiting in the wings, AJ Surace, is now in a raging position battle throughout summer camp with the transfer Dylan Lonergan. So Dylan, there's really a lot to break down here as we will see who Greg Schiano ends up choosing as his starter for the first couple of weeks. We're going to dive into the first couple of weeks of the season as well, because those are games that are really going to decide who is going to end up leading this team throughout the rest of this season. So Dylan, thanks so much for hopping on. I first want to just get your opinion, anything you've heard about the quarterback position battle so far and where you think it might be heading.
Yeah, I think going into training camp, everyone assumed that the Dylan Lonergan transfer portal signing was more for either two reasons. One, to add some pressure to Surace's campaign, and two, just to have a backup, because obviously this would have been Surace's first year starting with the team after staying behind Cali Camanus for 2 years. But yeah, he needs a backup and stuff. But coming from someone who actually watched quite a lot of Lonergan football last year at Boston College, he was he was not great. He was okay at best. He was on a bad team, and I understand he didn't have the weapons to kind of help him in any sort of way. But Boston College was what, 3-9, 2-10. Lonergan only completed like 60 something percent of his passes. Nothing flashy. And I thought just with Surace kind of sitting behind, getting mentored by a now starting or backup NFL quarterback, being in the program, like having coaches around him, that he was a lock, a for sure lock for the position. But now, throughout training camps, it's like every day you hear something new, like they're adding pressure. Lonergan's been playing well. Surace he looks new. He looks inexperienced. Lonergan, keep in mind, originally committed to play at Alabama coming out of high school. He's no joke. He was a four-star recruit, didn't like his role at Alabama, went to Boston College, and now he's here. And I don't now like kind of thinking about why he would have signed at Rutgers. Why would he have signed at Rutgers if he wasn't going to get a fair shot at the starting quarterback spot? And here he is, August 22nd, less than 2 weeks before kickoff against UMass, and he's got a fighting shot. For me personally, I'm still thinking that it's 50-50 no matter what. Shiano came out and said he wants to see more scrimmages, more of how they play in the 11 on 11s rather than just the standalone pocket passing drills or whatever 7 on 7s they run in training camp. Now it's scrimmage time. Things get real. So it's 11 on 11 against the starters. They'll each get reps against starting defense. So I kind of want to see how they play against that. But there's been clips surfacing around. There was one that I saw a couple days ago where it was a picture of or video of Cerise throwing a football, and he was flat-footed, like terrible footwork. And I don't know if that's just like a rep, a bad rep for him or what they're doing, but Lonergan is getting some hype, and I don't know. As a fan, I want to see Cerise start. Just to be frank, I want to see Cerise start. He's been in our program. He's been our up and coming quarterback, our next guy. We've had great quarterback play the last 2 years. I want to see him play, but if he's the worst quarterback, if Lonergan's the guy, then so be it.
Yeah. Couple things about Lonergan, his stats for last season: 190 completions and 284 attempts, so a 67% completion rate for 2,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Something interesting, though, is he's not too much of a quarterback that has a lot of success outside the pocket or carrying the ball himself, which is something that Rutgers has been a little bit used to over the last couple seasons with a mobile quarterback that can also make plays on the run. And now you're looking at a guy who last year on 36 carries had negative 37 yards for one touchdown and was losing about a yard per play. That's going to be interesting when you're also looking at a revamped offensive line as well. And so that pressure maybe could be something that affects Lonergan throughout the season. And AJ Serace, of course, he's been in the Rutgers system for a little longer. Maybe he knows a little more about that side of play under Shiano. And I would say also you're bringing in KJ Duff, you're bringing him back, and that's a player that's going to be one to be fed throughout the season. He is the best receiver on this team. He is probably the best player on this team, and he made a choice to come back under the impression that he is going to be the target on every play possible throughout the season, right? So which player is going to be able to do a better job of that? I personally think that that's going to be Lonergan. Um, for that Lonergan Duff connection is going to be stronger than maybe one between Serace and Duff. But I don't know if you agree with me there.
Yeah, first you mentioned the offensive line. I mean, this year is completely revamped. A lot of our guys from last year graduated. Um, of course, like our big left tackle, Harlem Pierce, no longer with the team. Like he graduated. But there's also some big returning factors. During training camp, um, like there was like a few clips showing this group of five guys, left tackle Tyler Needham, who's kind of like one of our two returning key focuses. Like I'm pretty sure I think he's a captain. He's a leadership type of guy. At guard, Chris Vigna. At center, Terrence Salami, another returning dude. Right guard, Kobe Asamoah, who's been getting All American preseason All American hype. So he's the real deal. Like he's like NFL draft hopes type of guy. So he's gonna be leading the right side, and then right tackle, Moshood Giwa, who's also returning. But none of these guys were solidified starters last year. A lot of them they were kind of rotation offensive line pieces. So it's revamped, but it's not bad either. I mean, we've kind of relied on our offensive line for the longest time. I mean, we like to call ourselves like kind of like a young running back university, right? Running back U with Pacheco coming out, Manungai, like even now, like Raymond, who's getting preseason All American hype as well. So we definitely do rely on our offensive line. I think these guys are good run blockers for sure. I don't know what their pass blocking will look like. That is something that has been kind of took a toll on our offense. We take a lot of sacks a lot. Kelly Mannix was great at getting the ball out past 2 years. And of course he's drafted, so like he's drafted for a reason, but we're starting some newer quarterbacks this year, so pass blocking hopefully stays good. We're gonna be playing some of the best pass rushers in all of college football this year. Just being in the Big Ten. So yeah, but that's kind of just what some clips have been showing. Those five guys. I know Shiano and the offensive line coach like to do rotation offensive line pieces. We go 7 or 8 deep, not just five. So that obviously is just a rough draft of what we think is going to be, but that's kind of what the offensive line is looking like. And you mentioned KJ Duff, like obviously he's our best player. I mean, it's him or Raymond. It's like 1A, 1B, maybe one or two. Duff's like the real deal. I in my lifetime as a Rutgers fan, I've never seen a player on our team get more hype nationwide. Like people know his name. People actually mention him in the best wide receiver conversations ever. I've never seen that but this is like unheard of for a Rutgers fan. But in practice, he's been looking amazing. Big Ten, like they're three guys like Jake Butt, Howard Griffiths, forgot the other dude. But everyone knows him if you watch Big Ten Network. They do their like campus tours, so they go every day they go to a new team. Rutgers, they visited Rutgers earlier this week, and they had nothing but praise for KJ Duff in their post practice recap. Jake Butt was saying that he is like the real deal. He would make any offense look great. The team feeds him the ball, they said. So both quarterbacks, he said, Lonergan and Serace look for him. So he's definitely going to be the go-to guy. He might get 12 targets a game on this rate. Um, so I'm not worried about Duff. I think Duff will thrive in any offense. He stayed for a reason. He stayed for the ability to get the ball. He wants to be drafted, so he's gonna make his mark. He's gonna leave his mark on the team. Um, but yeah, him and Raymond, they're gonna eat. But I think just like for Raymond, even we need a good quarterback. We need good quarterback play for Raymond too. to play well. Because for Raymond to have gaps to open up, for him to have holes to run through and stuff, he needs um consistent quarterback play. But yeah, I mean, the offense right now, it's honestly looking fine. I think with either quarterback, I think they're both solid pieces or solid options. I think what's most important looking to the season is what the new revamped defense is actually going to end up looking like. Because last year, a 5-7 Rutgers team had one of the best offenses in the last decade for the program, but didn't make a bowl game because of how poor our defense was at getting stops, even against the weakest of opponents we played. And yeah, a lot of people went to the NFL, a lot of people graduated, but they brought in many transfers. They brought in different types of transfers. The D line is completely revamped. So many different corners in the team. Linebackers are new, um, but like based on what they said in training camp, they're covering better, they're communicating better, which is one of the biggest flaws of the team last year. New defensive coordinator, of course, as we've mentioned, following the firing of Rob Smith a while ago last year, but or not last year, earlier this year. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think UMass will be a good way to start the season, because it'll give them a chance to kind of test new schemes, test new players, kind of new rotations for both sides of the ball. But come week two against Boston College, it gets real. You gotta have your quarterback by then. You gotta know who you're going with, and you gotta know who your 11 on defense is and who your 11 on offense is.
Um, I think you're 100% right. Like UMass being able to start out with a game like that is a big help where you're going to be able to see. Obviously, you're playing against an FBS school, but it's an FBS school that had a historically bad season. And they're obviously trying to push forward, but now you're going to be facing a Big Ten team in week one. So we're going to see what the pressure looks like there for whatever quarterback ends up being chosen. And maybe there's even a chance where multiple quarterbacks get game action depending on how that goes. Um, and then Boston College the second week. You're right. You were telling me right before we started recording. If you win that, you're going to be 2-0 going into a huge game against USC, which is going to be that first, I would say, like test if you can stand up to teams that are among the top in the Big Ten, among the top in the country. Um, and so Boston College added Mason McKenzie as their quarterback because obviously we have Dylan Lonergan, who was their starter last year. And he is a quarterback similar to ones that Rutgers struggled against last year. He is a extremely good dual threat quarterback. He works outside of the pocket extremely well. He can rush for a ton of yards. And that's honestly something that throughout last season, the Rutgers defense had trouble picking up on game in and game out, where you're seeing quarterbacks. I think Ohio was one of those big games last year where their quarterback kind of ran wild all over the Rutgers defense. So I hope that Shiano and the new defensive coaching staff is looking more into those kinds of adjustments mid play, how they're working on targeting the quarterback, how they're making sure that rushing defense stays strong throughout the game because really Rutgers is going to struggle heavily against a quarterback like that, especially heading on the road to Boston College as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, last year you mentioned it, last Ohio. He That was one of the hardest games to watch of the year because that should have been a blowout, and we got absolutely abused by that quarterback. Miami, Ohio had a running quarterback that kind of torched us in the first half. Um, I mean, I don't know if this is like going more deep in the season. Washington, their quarterback had his God, Demon Williams. He had his best game in his career against us because he rushed for like 100 something yards and passed for like 300. It was one of the hardest watches of the year. We couldn't stop a scramble quarter for the life of us. But revamped defense, like you gotta hope that that's something they like focused on this training camp this offseason. Um, but yeah, you mentioned Boston College. One thing that it might sound like cliche, like that's just like that's just a myth. They opened up their season at Cincinnati. a 3:30 game, Fox is nationally televised. That's not a hard. That's a very hard game to start your season up. We start against UMass. We're gonna most likely blow by UMass, and they're most likely either gonna lose or be in a really, really tight game with Cincinnati. And even with the loss, that they're gonna be way more battle tested going into their week 2 game. That can prove good, prove bad. They can be tired. It's a short week. We play on a Friday against BC, but it's the first week of the season. Players don't get tired that easily. I'm assuming that they're going to be more battle tested. They're going to understand better what they want to do because they're playing better comp. And we're going to go into the BC game maybe a little bit cocky, a little bit rusty in that first quarter, first half. And yeah, as you said, Mason McKenzie, he can scramble. If we're not ready for that, they can absolutely torch us and get up to a good lead. Mason McKenzie started his career at I think it's Saginaw Valley State. I believe it's a D2 school. Um, but he was like incredible there, like incredible. He was their conference player of the year. Um, I mean, he was an award-winning quarterback there, and obviously he got the job at an ACC school now. So he's no joke. But again, this is gonna be that'll be his against Rutgers. It'll be his second start at the FBS level in his career. So he's also inexperienced, which could help. And then hey, Lonergan, he's playing against his old team. Maybe if he starts this little revenge game there, something on the line. So yeah, but as you said, it's a must-win game. Can't lose to Boston College. They're not supposed to be a good team. I understand it's the red bandana game and all, which is, I mean, an amazing tradition. Celebrates I think their former lacrosse player that passed away on 9/11. But the tradition's great. They play well on that day every year. The past 2 years, or at least last year, I believe they played against Michigan State. And although going 3-9 to finish the year, Boston College, I think, took them to double overtime or something. They lost, but double overtime. So they do play their hearts out for this game, and the fans come out for this game. It's a nighttime game. It'll be nationally televised, ESPN2. So it's not going to be easy, but I think if everything plays in our hand, we will win that game.
Yeah. One thing I want to point out as well is the UMass quarterback is going to be William Pop Watson III. He spent 3 seasons with Virginia Tech. He got minutes in all of those, the most of which I believe was his sophomore year, where he started a couple games as well. He has FBS touchdowns and completions and all of that. So he is a quarterback that has experience at a top team, one of the better teams on the East Coast, and now he's heading to UMass, where he's going to be the starting quarterback for the first time, truly for a full season in his career. So it's not like we're going to be going into UMass where it's a guy fresh out of high school is going to be out there at the quarterback position or anything like that. It's going to be someone that's trained going now into his senior season to be a starting quarterback at the highest level. I'm not saying that's necessarily going to change Rutgers' chances of winning, but I still think that that is a valuable thing to have week 1, where maybe you're facing a quarterback that at least has some experience in a college football Division 1 game compared to what UMass has kind of been putting out over the last couple of seasons. So I think that that is a good start. You're going to have a bit more of a chance, especially on the defensive side, to be able to read how a quarterback like that is going to work. And I believe he's not a super. Uh, he's an okay rushing quarterback as well, but still, like, you got to be able to figure out how to defend against the dual threat.
Yeah, no, I mean, really, when we play UMass, I'm thinking, as many other fans probably agree with me, you're fully expecting a blowout, and a blowout not meaning a blowout meaning like 50-0, 57, like something like that, like not like a 35-10 type of game where it wasn't close, but I'm expecting like a beatdown, right? This is an 0-12 team we're talking about. Mind you, this is a storyline little thing. Their head coach, UMass was our former defensive coordinator, Joe Harry Simiak, and when the year Harry Simiak left the program is when our defense fully fell apart last year, right? So he probably regrets leaving. We're mad that he left. So let's go take it to his team, beat him by 60, go into Boston College with some good spirits. But I mean, honestly, I mean, it's come up. It's the season's right around the corner. It's pretty wild. All this hype, the KJ Duff hype, the Antoine Raymond hype, the Kobe Asamoah hype. There's some good players on this team. There's some real NFL draft prospects on this team. Now it's like there's a couple holes on the team that can be filled. Even the smallest of things, like can Jay Patel knock in 50 yarders consistently? You know, can he do it? Because last year he couldn't. 2 years ago he couldn't. He's a great kicker. He's coming back. Can he knock in 50 yarders, or is he stuck at 45? Because if he can knock in 50 yarders, that changes the offense. We're not going for a fourth and
I
five
mean, there
anymore
were
at our own.
multiple games last year that were lost on field goal kicks in that range. Like, what was it? The
Exactly.
Minnesota game
The
was the
Minnesota
big one.
game, Jay Patel didn't have the range to kick the 55 yarder, so he brought in our backup kicker with the bigger leg, but that was his first kick of the season. And honestly, he did a good job. He missed, but like, can Jay Patel knock it a 55 yarder? Because then if we're at the 41-yard line, or say no, say we're at the 38-yard line and we're at a fourth and six, we're not going for that. We're kicking the field goal. We're taking our three. Last year, we're going for that, and we're forcing the ball in the middle and probably giving the ball back to the team with zero on the scoreboard. So
Yeah.
it's just the
Um,
little things.
yeah. Um, we'll see what happens. I can't believe you're right. We're basically a little over a week away. The first game of the season is going to be on a Thursday. So Thursday night football on September 3rd, again versus UMass at home before they head on the road to Boston College on September 11th for the Red Bandana game. That's a prime time 7:30 p.m. start. And then the week after, we're not going to go too much into this game right now. In fact, we're going to pretty much wrap up the episode here, but we're going to definitely break this down more as the weeks goes on. A big test at home against USC on September 19th. That's going to be a 3:30 game. There's a lot going on this year. We're going to see the defending national champions later on in the season. An incredible Big Ten slate coming up. A lot of great teams also coming to Shai Stadium to face Rutgers. And maybe this year will be the year that we can beat Penn State because it was oh so close last year. So thanks everyone so much for tuning in to the Chopping Block. Again, my name is Andrew Hefner alongside Dylan Shaw. I hope everyone enjoys your last couple of weeks of sanity before the season begins, because this is going to be probably a pretty interesting one, because, like we started off this episode talking about, there is still not a quarterback. So we'll be sure to update you as soon as we know if AJ Stories or Dylan Lonergan will be getting the start on September 3rd. Thanks everyone. Have a great week.